It's been nearly 1 year since this tragic crash left one UGA football player, Devin Willock, and one staff member, Chandler LaCroix, dead. Police ruled alcohol and speed were factors in this early morning crash following Georgia's national championship parade. In the months after, head coach Kirby Smart said LaCroix, who was behind the wheel, was in violation of a school policy in driving a company vehicle after hours.
That policy was broken, and it's to be understood that you cannot take a vehicle when you're not doing your duties, and they were not participating in their duties at that time.
But in new court filings, the attorneys for Tori Bowles, another staff member in the back seat of the car that crashed, alleged that university officials not only knew staff members had company vehicles after hours, but they were instructed to keep them overnight. Here, a recruiting staff member in December 2019 texting Bowles to, quote, "Yes, take it home." The 75-page complaint continues, saying, quote, text messages show that on occasion supervisors and coaches, in effect, encouraged recruiting staff to drink alcohol with football prospects' families, well aware that staffers would leave the events after consuming alcohol. In this text exchange, the football program director of player personnel told staffers, quote, "Hey guys, if you are driving, you can have fun at Coach Smart's, but if you are driving a recruit, make sure you don't get drunk." Bowles, whose attorney said was seriously injured in the crash, is seeking upwards of $200,000 to offset medical bills and lost wages. Patrick Quinn, Atlanta News First.
And coming up at 1 p.m., I will have attorney Holly Waltman joining me for a live interview, and we will discuss all the legal developments, including the UGA lawsuit stemming from this crash. And again, that's coming up at 1 p.m. here on Atlanta News First Plus.
Free at last! Free at last! Thank God Almighty! We are free at last!
And of course, today is Martin Luther King Day, and we are honoring the life and legacy of the civil rights icon who called Atlanta home. Happening today, hundreds, even thousands will gather to reflect on Dr. King's life and his legacy. Atlanta News First reporter Rebecca Schramm has a look at some of the events happening around our area today.
The annual church service will be held later this morning. They just put into place a 1950s era bus, which has been restored and used to commemorate the civil rights movement. They're positioning it right across the street from the birth home of Dr. King, which you are not able to tour right now. Look at that. It has a fence around it as the National Park Service prepares for a big renovation project, and also after what happened here in December. Look at this. A tourist shot this video of a woman pouring gasoline on the front porch. Police say she was trying to burn down the historic home. That tourist who took the video stopped her and she was arrested. I checked, and 26-year-old Lanisha Chantrice Henderson, a Navy veteran, remains in the Fulton County Jail. With that fence now surrounding the home where Dr. King spent most of his childhood years, tourists are still able to take pictures, but they can't go onto the steps, which was a bit disappointing to visitors we spoke with.
I didn't know there'd be a fence. I thought I would get to at least go on the porch.
To see it fenced off this year, it kind of puzzled me.
It's disappointing, but it's also a reason to make another trip.
There are plenty of other events happening today. The beloved community commemorative service is from 10 to 1 at Ebenezer Baptist Church. Right afterward, at about 1:15, you can take part in the annual march, which assembles at the corner of Peachtree and Baker Streets, and that will be followed by a rally in front of the King Center. Now, you've heard the expression that today should be a day on, not a day off. So if you want to volunteer somewhere with your family, go to AtlantaNewsFirst.com. We've got a story with a link where you can type in your zip code and find out about volunteer opportunities in your neighborhood. In Atlanta, Rebecca Schramm, Atlanta News First.
And also making headlines as well. Fulton County District Attorney Fonnie Willis has spoken out publicly since the very first time following the allegations that she engaged in an improper relationship with Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade, appointed to the election subversion case. Really the first time she's spoken publicly again since these bombshell allegations. Atlanta News First, Bridget Spencer has more.
D.A. Willis spoke yesterday at the MLK Day celebration at Big Bethel AME Church, taking the opportunity to basically defend her office from that pulpit. The celebration was held at Big Bethel, which is the oldest black church in Atlanta. That's according to the Atlanta History Center. Willis spoke publicly for the first time since she was accused of an improper relationship with one of her special counselors on the Trump election subversion case, and that's Nathan Wade. Willis never confirming nor denying those allegations or mentioning names of her special prosecutors, but she did take the time to defend them.
I appointed 3 special counsel, as is my right to do. Paid them all the same hourly rate. They only attacked one. All 3 of these special counselors are superstars. But I'm just asking God, is it that some will never see a black man as qualified?
Willis also said that she is not perfect, she is flawed, but she does enjoy serving the citizens of Fulton County. When it comes to these allegations in particular, she has not yet filed a response. In downtown Atlanta, Bridget Spencer, Atlanta News First.
Thank you to Bridget for that report. Okay, pointing you to AtlantaNewsFirst.com and, of course, ANF Plus. I want to let you know that if you want to continue to follow the news while football is on from 5 to 6:30 tonight, that we invite you to please do so on Atlanta News First Plus, our streaming platforms, and, of course, our website, our mobile news app. That's how you can follow the latest if you prefer to get the news instead of watch football. Okay, let's talk about the weather, because we have several first alerts in place. Wow, what a busy week we have. Yes. Very, very wintry week. All right, so first alert meteorologist Courtney Jacobazzi is going to help get you ready for all this.
Yeah, absolutely. Clearly a very busy and a very cold week ahead here in North Georgia. So get your coats ready, everybody. Make sure that you are preparing your homes, because we know good and well when the temperatures drop the way they are, we could see pipes burst. So you want to start thinking about how to winterize your home, maybe cover your spigots outside, make sure there are no hoses attached to those spigots, make sure that your faucets are dripping, all the things. You know the drill. We get cold like this usually once a winter, especially in our colder winters. So just make sure you are doing taking all of the steps to make sure that your homes can be kept in good condition as we deal with some very, very cold air, an Arctic air mass making its way into the southeast. So we're going to talk about all of it. I am First Alert Meteorologist Courtney Jacobazzi. As Joy mentioned, we have multiple first alerts. In fact, more first alerts than not on the 7-day forecast. And our first alerts are just giving you that heads up that the forecast is changing, and it's going to change in a big way. So let's talk about everything you need to know. Today is actually going to be a pretty pleasant day in Metro Atlanta. Low 50s for the afternoon. Now, if you live in far north Georgia, the weather story is completely different. Cold air is already starting to spill in as we actively have a cold front moving through the state right now. So the cold air is already spilling into far north Georgia, and we have some moisture associated with that. So a wintry mix, maybe even some snow showers in far north Georgia. Up in the Blue Ridge area, could see some light accumulation. And then tomorrow, we continue our first alert as that cold air really settles in, and it is going to feel like the teens and low 20s all day. Now, late tonight into early tomorrow morning, we also want to just give you the heads up that we could have some patches of ice on the roadways, especially in the mountains, higher bridges and overpasses. Maybe as far south as Cherokee County could see some patchy ice late tonight, but by the morning commute tomorrow, everyone should look pretty good. But again, if you live up in the North Georgia mountain areas, just make sure that you're driving very, very carefully, as we could have some ice on the roadways early tomorrow, and maybe even some fun winter weather, which is, of course, in the form of some accumulating snow. Now, Wednesday, we continue our first alert. That's the coldest day of the week when it comes to the morning, at least. It is going to feel more like the single digits Wednesday morning, and then highs are only going to climb near 40. Saturday and Sunday, a second cold blast of air moves in. We're in a very aggressive pattern right now. The jet stream constantly dipping south, and that essentially is the dividing line between warmer and colder Arctic air this time of year. And boy, are we getting a lot of that spilled in thanks to that jet stream that keeps hanging out in the south, which of course isn't normal, but in an El Nino pattern, it is. So both mornings in the teens on Saturday and Sunday with highs only in the 30s and 40s. Let's take you through all of that kind of into detail. So we have a winter storm warning in Fannin County and then far northwest Georgia, including Dalton and Rock Springs. So for our viewing area in particular, Fannin County is the one we're looking for. So that includes, of course, Mineral Bluff, the Blue Ridge area. We'll be watching for the potential for maybe some accumulating snow, upwards of an inch in the areas in pink. And then the purple, the winter weather advisory, that's for areas just north of Metro and then as far west as Haralson and Polk County, where we could potentially see a wintry mix. So kind of a mix of rain and sleet, maybe a few flurries mixed in there, maybe some patchy ice later tonight as well, especially on higher bridges and overpasses. The higher elevated surfaces that are bridges and overpasses, they freeze quicker because of their higher elevation, and they don't have the ground to insulate them, so that cold air kind of surrounds bridges and overpasses, which allows them to freeze quicker. So just be really mindful if you're traveling late tonight and you happen to live north of the city, west of the city as well, because there is the potential for maybe some patchy icy spots, but that's not a widespread issue. I think that for the most part, if you live in the mountains, we'll be watching really closely there tomorrow morning. Now, here's a look at kind of our setup. So we have cold air currently spilling in behind our cold front. If you live south of that cold front, where the cold air isn't going to spill in today, it's actually going to be near 60 degrees. So there are two completely different weather stories depending on where you live in the state today. At the same time, we have another weather system rolling to our south. And around an area of low pressure, wind flows counterclockwise. And what that's doing is pulling in moisture from the Gulf and Atlantic, giving us the moisture for that front to work with and ultimately produce the chance for snow in that wintry mix. So a lot of times the big question is not necessarily if it's cold, but if we're going to have enough moisture, or the other end where we do have enough moisture, but is it going to be cold enough in all layers to have that rain turn over completely into snow as it makes its way down to the ground? So we really have a perfect winter weather setup here as we go through the day today, with mainly far north Georgia, the ones who will get the fun winter weather, otherwise just a wintry mix possible as far south as Cherokee County, as far west as Polk and Haralson County. Here's a look at the highs today. So this is what I mentioned. That front is making its way in. It's currently just south of the city, but it doesn't automatically cool you down. But the far northern tier of our state has had a little bit longer to get that colder air to spill in. So low 40s north of the city, mid 40s for Canton, low 50s for Atlanta. But then you go down towards LaGrange, Griffin, Eatonton, you're going to be near 60 degrees today. And even looking along the coast like Savannah, they're going to be close to 70 degrees today. So no matter where you live in the state, that really is dependent on whether it feels like winter or if it feels a little more like spring, depending on where you live. Georgia definitely has some pretty wacky weather today when it comes to the temperatures, just with how different they are. So let's take you through everything here. Now, this model, I think, is being a little aggressive on the snowfall, but the other models I don't think are being representative enough. So we're going to go with this model. It's called the Graph. It's a higher resolution model for us, but it does paint the picture of the 30s in the mountains, 50s for Atlanta, near 60 south of the city, and that best chance for winter weather in the far northern tier of the state. So as we go through the afternoon, the chance for maybe a few on and off light snow showers, and as we make our way into the evening, we'll have the chance for some scattered showers across North Georgia that could potentially turn into that wintry mix, kind of like a sleet rain mix for Monday night. Temperatures in the 40s in Atlanta as that rain moves in. So notice temperatures really not going below freezing at this point overnight, but in some spots like Cherokee County and points northward, temperatures with some of that moisture still falling could go near freezing, which is again why we're worried about maybe some patchy ice. Again, not a widespread issue for us, and a lot of that will melt by the time and not be an issue by the time you're headed out on the roadways on Tuesday morning, but a few light showers possible from Atlanta southward as we make our way into your Tuesday morning commute hour. Forecast snowfall looks like this. Again, unfortunately, not going to make it into Metro. If you wanted to see some of that, you have to travel about an hour or two north. We could pick up upwards of an inch or two of snow in Lafayette, Dalton, the Mineral Bluff area. Of course, that's the highest point of Georgia. Ellijay could get a nice light dusting. Maybe even Somerville could get a nice light dusting of snow. But overall, any of the fun winter weather is going to stay well north of us. Let's take a look at high temperatures across the country today, because this is going to give you an idea of that Arctic blast that's going to be on the way for tomorrow. So high temperature in Billings, Montana today, 0. Cheyenne, Wyoming, -2 for a high temperature. Could you imagine how cold it was there this morning? I didn't look, but it was probably extremely cold. Wind chills out in the Rockies and in the central portion of the United States over the weekend were between -30 and -60 degrees. Extreme cold. But notice, even Nashville today, only going to top out near 19. So that cold air creeping in. We are definitely the envy of a lot of the country with a high in the 50s today. Here's a look at that wind chill. So as that cold air really spills in on Tuesday, the wind is also going to pick up because that cold front's moving in. And when cold fronts move through, that naturally picks up the breeze. So it's going to feel like the teens as you make your way out the door tomorrow morning, and even as cold as maybe 10, 11 degrees. And then through the afternoon tomorrow, it's going to struggle to feel as warm as the 20s. So very, very cold. We'll take you kind of hour by hour. Here's a look at Tuesday afternoon. This does continue our first alert for the cold. Again, just giving you that heads up. You need to prepare in a different way for the weather. You got to bundle up. Make sure you're winterizing your home. Temperatures tomorrow afternoon only going to feel like the teens and 20s. As we head into Wednesday morning, this is the coldest we're going to experience this week. It's going to feel like 3 degrees tomorrow morning in LJ, 4 in Canton, 4 in Atlanta, 5 in Carrollton. So as you're thinking about sending the kids back to school on Wednesday, maybe a good idea if you're able to hang out in the car with them and have the heat on in the car as they wait for their bus instead of making them stand at the bus stop, because this could result in frostbite and any exposed skin. So you just need to be really, really careful Wednesday morning and just bundle up. Prepare for the cold weather. Wednesday afternoon, the wind will start to die down, but temperatures will be in the 30s on Wednesday afternoon. So while the wind will die down and our wind chill won't be so much of a factor, it's still going to be cold without the wind Wednesday afternoon. Here's a look at the next 6 days. As I mentioned, we'll have another round of this very cold air just in time for the weekend. So we'll get a brief reprieve. 40s will probably feel warm to us on Thursday, near 50 actually on Thursday. Low 40s Friday as another front moves in that'll also introduce a rain chance. Too soon to determine any kind of winter weather potential with that, but we'll be keeping an eye on it over the weekend. More first alerts for very cold air, 30 Saturday afternoon, 40 Sunday, but both mornings are going to be in the teens on Saturday and Sunday. So the first alert is really particularly for the morning, as it's going to be a frigid start. It is going to feel colder than that, especially Saturday morning as that front passes and the wind picks up again Saturday morning. So just prepare for that if you have any plans on Saturday, particularly in the morning hours. You're definitely going to need to bundle up in a big way because it is going to feel colder than the teens waking up on Saturday. So here's looking at overnight lows. 28 tomorrow morning, but again, feeling a lot colder tomorrow morning. Wednesday feeling like the single digits, even though we're in the teens. Still waking up cold Thursday and Friday, both mornings near or below freezing. And then we'll wake up again in the teens on Saturday and Sunday. So just buckle up, everybody. It's going to be very cold. I will let you know, though, I didn't put that graphic in here, but thinking about it now, I should have. When you look at the 8 to 14-day temperature outlook from the Climate Prediction Center, that kind of gives us an idea of longer range outlooks. What the Climate Prediction Center does is look at a bunch of our long range models and create kind of just an outlook, what we could expect in a certain time frame. The 8 to 14-day outlook as we head into the end of January, beginning of February, looks well warmer than average. So hopefully we can turn this train around a little bit and get out of this just bitter cold, because if you're like me, this is not your jam. Here's a look at your 7-day forecast. So first alerts all the way through Wednesday, because of that chance for maybe some snow showers in the mountains, a wintry mix for parts of North Metro, as far south as Cherokee County, as far west as Haralson and Polk counties, the potential for a little bit of a wintry mix. 50s for Atlanta, 30s to near 40 for the mountains, near 60 south of the city. So a huge temperature spread today. Waking up in the 20s tomorrow, but it is going to feel more like the teens and low 20s all day. Very cold. That chance for maybe a few showers, especially south of the city tomorrow morning. And then as we head into Wednesday, feeling like the single digits, teens for the morning, highs in the 30s on Wednesday and Tuesday. Thursday we'll be back near 50, Friday low 40s with a chance for a few showers. That's another cold front that brings us another Arctic air mass for the weekend. Morning in the teens, feeling well colder than that, especially Saturday morning with highs only in the 30s and near 40 on Sunday. So have those coats ready. Make sure you are preparing your home, preparing your family. Of course, you got to get all the winter gear out. I know it's probably been out because we've been cold enough, but if you ask me, I think this week is a good time to maybe bring out, if you have any of those thermal thin layers to put on underneath your clothes, not just the coat and the hat and the scarf. If you have that just extra small layer, that'll make a really big difference for you over the next couple of days. Make sure you're protecting your pipes, stripping those faucets. If you have any pets outside, make sure you're taking care of them as well, being mindful of that. All of the things to get ready for the very, very cold weather, the dangerously cold weather for us here in the southeast. just make sure you are making those preparations today, as the weather will be tolerable today before the extreme cold spills in for the next several days, and then again over the weekend. Thanks so much for spending some time with us. Our team of First Alert meteorologists will be sure to keep you posted on this forecast on the First Alert weather app, a great tool to have as we make our way into a pretty wild week of weather. And I hope you make it a great day and stay warm this week.